hey, I just want to take a second to have a little mom chat with you. In a perfect world, we would all live next door to one another, and I would say, hey, guys, put on a movie for the kids. We're going to go for a little walk. But, we can't do that, so we're doing this. All right, so this is just a video for moms. If you have your child with you, kick them out. Something that I am noticing that I'm having to do a lot with my student, and I recognize it in our class time as well, is let's talk about where our kids are developmentally. If you've ever had developmental psychology, and you just know in these puberty brains, they're just floating. They're just floating around up here. As I was reading a book on living in space with Jaden, I was like, that looks familiar. That looks familiar. Just floating around, floating around. So what are we doing? We're tethering them and pulling them back down to earth and saying, hello, I'm down here with the facts. Can you give me some facts? So here's what I noticed in my students' Annie chart. Lots of might and could be's and could have beens and maybes. I mean, let's be honest. There was not one concrete piece of information in the entire Annie chart. So that came down on our shoulders this week, which was perfect timing as we're trying to get ready for science fair. So what I would continue to encourage you to do is tether your children. Tether them to the ground. And remember what Andrew Pudewa says. And I know we're not in IEW. We're in LTW. But Andrew is smart. You really can't help your kids too much, okay? They're going to get it after a while. If you keep throwing the lasso around, pulling them down to earth and going, okay, that's great. You have all of this made up stuff that could have been, pontificating on all of this, and that's fantastic. However, this is a persuasive paper that you are writing, and we need some facts. So what from the actual book can you use to prove your point? We need evidence. You're an attorney, and we need evidence. Evidence. Stuff that really happened, not what could have or should have or might have. No, we don't need that. So just continue to encourage you to work with your children in that regard on their writing. Next year, the rubber's really going to meet the road when they start mock trial and they're looking at that case. There's no making stuff up. You have to stick to the facts. And so this is a little bit of a reading skill. I've noticed that's a little bit of a weakness for my student. Sometimes you think you read things that you didn't. So we've got to go back and review. Let's look at that part of the text again. So lots of reasons, but really by definition, if we're writing a persuasive paper, then we need to use evidence from the book and not just made up generalities, because it's easy, especially with Ember's thesis. Her thesis was Mr. Craven should not have kept Colin in isolation. Well, we all know that's not healthy from a health standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, from relationship standpoint. We know that. And so we can add some thoughts around that based upon what we know to be true. And it is okay. It is okay to use testimony. You can definitely use testimony, whether that be scripture or if you wanted to pull in some, research on relationship or something like that. But for the most part, on these Annie charts, if we can really stick to, hey, what evidence can you find in the book regarding this? That's where we need to encourage them. The other thing is regarding science fair. So I guess I didn't really ask your thoughts on this. I'm trying to just use some good judgment. So conversation came up this week on a forum with my CC Challenge A directors, and they reminded everyone, I'm going to laugh. They reminded everyone that parents are not supposed to be a part of the presentation judging process for science fair. And I said, yeah, okay, well, we've already decided to do that. Honestly, I never read that. It was in something called a SNAP packet. And I'm pretty much a person, like, I don't have time to just hang out on the CC forums. I do well. I just read the guide. I feel like everything you need to be successful is in the guide. And they do tell us that in training. But I really don't have time for, all the other little chit chats that people have on about science fair, and they've just been wearing me out. And so I've kind of turned the deaf ear to a lot of it. So that's my fault. But I guess I am giving a little bit of pause to that, since that is the rule. I wanted to make sure that everyone is comfortable with parents being a part of science fair. So here's what it will look like. We will have our students in the chapel. I'll have to bring in some tables so they can set up their boards. They will present their 5-minute presentation in front of Challenge 2. Alan will be a part of that. I have heard for sure that Gina and Suzanne will come. Of course, I will be in there. Julie Hall may be a part. I'm not for certain about that. That's what it looks like right now. Now, as a matter of encouragement, we can discuss this parental involvement, but as a matter of encouragement to your student, because my student has been about to have a stroke this week at the thought of presenting this. Number one, you've done 5-minute presentations and foundations. Okay, so the only difference now is that we are doing this in front of a larger group of people. But let's consider it a baby step, because we're going from foundations to a Challenge A presentation where we have this relatively small group of people. And then next year with mock trial, you'll be presenting in front of adults you do not know, a whole nother community, all their parents, siblings. Okay, so I consider this a healthy baby step. Now, if anyone can present for these 3 reasons we should not, please feel free. I'm joking there. Please feel free to reach out to me if you feel strongly about this or would prefer your child not participate in that way. Let me assure you, if you do not know the Challenge 2 students, every one of them have been scared and have messed up before. Every one of them have done poorly on something. Every one of them have done well on something. They're great students, okay? I am just saying that to remind everyone, hey, they are not coming in there to rip you apart. They are going to be so gracious, and they're going to be fair. They're going to give you fair feedback. You know already how you're going to be judged. Those judge forms are in your guide. There are going to be no surprises, but nobody's going to be ugly. Nobody is going to be embarrassed. If they get up there and mess up and lose their train of thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to help them. I have a good understanding of everyone's science fair project, and so I will prompt them or intervene in some way. We are not looking for anybody to be devastated. I remember one year, I believe it was Challenge B for Ezra, that a student just completely froze and crumbled. And it was really hard because everybody was sad about it. Like, nobody wanted her to feel bad. And so I head into something like this having experienced that. And so I'm like, not on my watch. No one will go down in flames. I will intervene. I will pick up for them. This is not a time when anybody is going to be embarrassed. This is not a time for anybody to feel intimidated. This is just growing. This is all this is. And it's practice in growing in front of a group of people. So please encourage your students that it's going to be, I'm trying to say, it's a safe space. It is a safe space. Now, if anybody feels super strong that we should not have parents involved, if you only want the judges, then let me know, because I feel like I have to, in all fairness, offer that since that is the rule. But I wanted you to understand my thoughts towards having everybody present in terms of the moms that would like to come, and I guess Alan and possibly Julie. So I guess really it's just a few moms. Yeah, that's all it is. So let me know what you think about that, if you would prefer to do it differently. We will do it in the afternoon. I still haven't nailed down exactly what time we'll do that, but of course it'll need to happen in the chapel because of hang time that occurs in the gym. So yeah, a bit of encouragement there. Make sure you tell your students it's going to be okay. Nobody's going to be embarrassed. That is not, it's not the plan. Not the plan. It's going to be safe. It's a safe, growing experience. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. This video's 10 minutes, 11 minutes. Love y'all.